We've talked about Softr a lot in the last few months, mainly due to the fact that they've upped their game on a lot of different areas. And recently I created a video on how you can create a full client portal and onboarding directly from Softr itself, whilst also protecting your client data. So today I want to cover whether or not it can be your main alternative for Airtable and Google Sheets, and if it makes sense for you to host all of your information in the backend. I'm actually working again with Softr on this video. If any of you have not used Softr before, it's basically a no-code app that allows you to use your business data and turns it into portals, even back-end systems and internal tools. And with the introduction of the databases that have come into play, and now with the integrations with multiple automation platforms, definitely becomes something that I know will be in a lot more radars. Wanting to try out the professional version, I've got a full month for free that you can use and test it out yourself. So if you just use Ellis at checkout, you'll be able to get it. Now in the first video, we covered building the client portal and the onboarding using automations and the back-end databases that Softr now have. So now we want to look at whether or not it makes sense for you to take your Airtable databases or your Google Sheets into Softr itself and use that as your back-end database, because now it will directly link with all of your client portals internally, and you've got that security level on top. We're going to run through a few things today. I'm also going to show you how easy it is to actually import that data into Softr, if that's the route that you're going to take, because it's pretty simple. You get started in 10 minutes by just doing this. We're going to look at a few things that Softr are now doing as to why this could be the best route for you to take. Now, when it comes to platforms like Airtable, Sheets, Notion, all of that sort of stuff, if you're taking that data and then pinging it into a separate platform, you're obviously going to have to use things like APIs, and you might have some limits on that. But when it comes to the databases themselves now being hosted inside of Softr, you do have the ability to not have those API limits. Everything will load at the speed that you need it to, and obviously that performance over time, because as you can see from this first point, obviously the cap structures that you have when it comes to the plans that you're on these platforms is something to also keep an eye on, especially as you start to scale your business. So the second one with potentially going into Softr itself is obviously about that price per seat. And this is something that I've talked about with a lot of clients, and something that I've discussed quite a lot before, is that when you're on platforms like Airtable, or when I've built things for clients in the past on Airtable, the problem with the paying per seat can be a real issue. Now, if you're not really sure on the differences when it comes to these price points, essentially to break it down is that if you give someone access to an interface where they can edit it and it's not on view only mode, you then have to pay per that seat. Whereas in Softr, it works a little bit differently, where you're paying for those permissions to then have a set amount that you can have. Now, another one that is probably the biggest one when it comes to hosting it inside of here is about the granular permissions. With these other platforms, none of them actually offer granular permissions at this moment in time with just their normal databases. All of them don't have row level security and don't allow you to separate it based on a person or an individual who's signing on. Now, there are intricate ways about it, but actually doing it securely isn't possible on other platforms. So having the ability to not only create a client interface and a client portal that looks good, but also being able to protect yourself and your security from your backend is really, really important. One of the other things that they've been adding is obviously the conditional forms as well. So not only can you now have your forms inside of Airtable, could be for like your onboarding forms or even inquiry forms, that can then be pinged directly into Softr itself, where everything can be hosted in there rather than taking it to a different location or a different place where you host forms. So let's actually just show you how easy it is to actually move data over to Softr itself and what it's like to actually do that. I've got a little bit of a data set that I can use here for the project streamlining, just to show you what it's like. So if we come into the databases for Softr itself, you can then see that you can import your data from another source. Now, you've got here that Google Sheets is coming soon, but you can take it from a CSV file. So if you just download the Google Sheet, you could obviously get it from there. But if we instantly go for Airtable, what you would then do is I'm going to select obviously my Airtable account that I'm going to be using for this, and I'm going to select the project streamliner. So if I come into the project streamliner, you'll see I've got 3 different headings for what I'm doing. I've got projects, I've got team members, and then I've got resources. So all of them are separated, all of them are shown in different ways. Obviously, I've not got them as interfaces and stuff at the moment, but we've got all of the data in here, all separated by different selects, different statuses, different budgets, end dates, that sort of stuff. And sometimes moving these things in the past can be quite brutal. It can take a little bit of time, especially if you have more data. But when we come into Softr, it really is as easy as just importing everything that you've got, which will directly come into your Softr databases. So now that you've got your data inside of here, you can do whatever you want with it. So this can then be turned into something that you use inside of your portals. this can be something that you link directly to the forms that you create inside of Softr itself. And it means that for these projects or the team members or anything like that they have, you can be putting it into here, and you can see everything is transferred over. We've got the photos from the files, we've got the budgets, we've got the selects, and this is going to be such a good way, especially if your focus is having a client portal. And for that front of having client portals, this will be so good for actually taking your data from one place like Airtable or Google Sheets and putting it directly into here. Obviously, as you scale your business, more and more clients come into the picture, and therefore more forms are being filled in, more relational databases, all of that sort of stuff. And if you're wanting clients to have access to these things, to edit these things, and to actually interact with them, it becomes very, very costly very quickly, and your profit margins start to go down quite rapidly. So when I found out everything that Softr were kind of doing, that's why I was so buzzing that they wanted to collaborate on some of these videos, because I've used them for clients in the past and I've created client portals for them in the past. And it's such a good way of having all of that information in that one space, because it could genuinely be such a good thing for you to have all of your database structures in that backend hosted in Softr as they're moving this forward. There's also been some teases on Softr's LinkedIn about workflows coming in too. So that's going to take it a step up even further for some of the automations that you can run directly inside of Softr, which I love to see. To also just show you the importing side of things from the CSV file, because I know maybe some of you are doing it from a different platform, I'm literally just going to take it from a CSV file like I've just done with the project one, and I'll show you what it's like. That done it even quicker. So yeah, it's really easy to do. It's really simple. And if that is the front that you're trying to push for, and you're trying to get most things in the one place. Now, I know not every tool is going to do everything that you need, but having your database in the back end, being able to create your client portals that have row level security, something that most of these platforms don't have at all. And now with the addition of taking automation platforms and pinging this data into it, you are really creating quite a powerful app that is really good at actually pushing forward with what they know their clients need. Even if you're in existing databases that you already have, maybe you're wanting to like import your future projects that you've done, you can also import these directly from Airtable from these pages as well, meaning that instead of creating its own space, you're actually adding them already into your existing data that you have. Tagging this alongside the apps that you have as well and using your Softr databases, you could essentially import all of your data from the Softr databases again, removing basically all of the limitations that you might have with other platforms. Because I know Notion has an API limit, I know Airtable, I think it's 5 per second, and all the other platforms will have their own API limit for your doing. So if you are dealing with quite a lot of data and quite a lot of things that are going on, that limit can be reached quite quickly and things can start to break down. So having it in the one space is actually really, really powerful to do, and it allows you to not have to worry about those problems as you start to scale. So if we were wanting to add this to, let's just say, one of our client portals that we were wanting to do, we could simply just come down to this block, add it as a list, and then from here, choosing the sources from our Softr databases, we can take the project streamliner and then choose any one that we're wanting to do. So maybe it's the projects that we're wanting to add. So from this point, we can start to add in exactly what we're looking for, exactly what we need, all directly from Softr. We're not pinging this from anywhere else. We're not taking it from anywhere else. So there's going to be no issues with if there's something going wrong on one platform, it's not going to be loading on the second. And this is where I see the future of Softr going, with all these little things that are going to slowly allow you to create genuinely some of the best client portals that they can use whilst hosting all of your data inside that one space. If you're someone that's using Airtable or Sheets and you're hosting client portals and data inside of there, Softr is genuinely something that you should be looking at. The ability to have all of that information inside of your databases, just the same structure and the same way that they do it, but also being able to take that information if you've got it from there, pulling it directly into Softr, and then instantly being able to put it into your client portals without any worry about the paid plans for the seats and adding those on constantly, without the hesitation for security, because that can always be a pain. Some of the stuff that Softr have got coming, it's pretty exciting to see what they're going to be doing with this. Again, if you're wanting to try this out for a month and see it for yourself, use code Ellis at checkout with the professional plan and you're going to get a full month free and you'll be able to test it yourself. And the video on the screen is where I go and build an automated onboarding and client portal system, so you can watch out to check how to actually build that yourself and see everything that's going on with that. I'll see you there.